Welcome back to a very special edition of the Night Report podcast. This is our 100th episode. I'm your co-host, Mike Broadbent. Joining me is my co-host, Richie Schneiderate. And we have CJ Nobile and Pat Lawless from the front office. How's it going, guys?
Hey, how you doing? Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Congrats on the 100th
Absolutely.
episode.
Thanks, man. It's blown by. We started in September of last year, and we just figured we'll keep doing these and see how it goes. And it's been fun to grow the audience and see, makes a few changes. And I can't believe it's been 100 already, honestly. It's been wild, fast 10 months or 11 months, however long it's been. Let's talk a little bit about the event. So you guys are in your second annual Rutgers-Seton Hall Banquet. It's in Nutley again at Mama Vittoria, right? But did I pronounce that right? Because Richie and I are notoriously bad at pronouncing basically everything, so I try and get a confirmation of coming.
Mama Vittoria, but it was
Mama
close.
Vittoria. Okay,
Vittoria.
perfect. But it is in Nutley, so I got that right.
Yes.
So talk about how last year's event went, guys, because I don't think we talked about it to you guys beforehand, but how would you describe how last year's event went?
Yeah, I think last year's event was really great. And the thing that made it great was, the fans that were there, right? Everyone that was there was just so passionate about the rivalry, and seeing like Phil Sellers, John Fanther, who's becoming a celebrity in front of our eyes right now. Having Terry DeHeer, Jerry Walker, it was a real nostalgic feeling, especially for all age groups, right? You had the younger age group, the older age group, and it was really cool seeing how passionate both fan bases were about the rivalry.
Yeah, I would agree. I think having those stories, dating back to Phil Sellers' days all the way up to, Austin Johnson, Quincy Doobie days, that was really cool to bring full context to this rivalry. And yeah, John said it best. Listen, it's New Jersey basketball, it's pasta, it's drinks. I don't know if so it was a great time last year. We're jacked up for this year. So yeah.
So you guys mentioned John a couple times. I don't know if you've seen his Twitter. This man is a pretty biased broadcaster, if I do say so myself.
Why do you say that?
I see him responding to JP Carissimo. That's my Seton Hall guy over there. He posted a little thing like, "Hey, let's rhyme all these photos," and it was like a stump, pump, Trump, and then it's a picture of the rack. Yeah. Obviously, the dump, and then
what's funny? I saw that and I couldn't put it together. I'm like, what am I missing here?
Sounds like a true Seton Hall grad.
Oh my god!
See, they say there's no animosity there. I'm telling you, there's still a little bit.
Yeah, there's a little bit. So now that we're in year 2 of this event, what did you guys take away from last year's event? Like, what were your main learning points about hosting an event this big? Selling tickets, getting all the speakers and the venue set up. Just talk about the process and what you guys learned from year 1 to year 2.
Sure. Yeah, I would say the biggest thing is focus on what matters, right? And what number one priority for me and CJ this year was, hey, let's run a successful event. And what that means is everyone in the crowd really enjoying their experience, right? From the little things to, hey, let's make sure the food gets delivered, a little bit earlier this time, right? Let's let John do what he does best, right? Let's play our roles to making sure that this runs as smoothly and that everyone in the crowd has a really good time and fully understands why they're there, right? Even for the people that didn't enter that building as a Rutgers and Seton Hall fan last year, they walked away and understood why this is such a special event, why this exists, right? So that's our number one priority this year. We have, we've been meeting on the daily about how we're going to pull it off this year, and we're pretty confident we're going to do it again. So
yeah,
that's been our number one priority.
I think to piggyback off that, and I'm sure Pat could attest to this, is between this, our high school events, everything we run is always expect the unexpected in
sure.
This kind of industry, right? So just always be on your feet, always ready to accommodate to whatever happens, and that's the fun of it, right? If everything went too smooth, it wouldn't be fun. So it's always nice to
that's fair.
Working on the fly.
Yeah, so talk a little bit about the guests that you guys have this year. I know last year you had Miles Mack, Doobie. Now you got another Rutgers legend too in Geo Baker.
Yep. We got Geo Baker, Austin Johnson, Rick Datica, and Hollis Copeland. So, when we got the news that we were going to get Geo, it was really, really cool to be able to get someone as significant as Geo is in Rutgers history and get his thoughts so fresh on his career. And what are his thoughts on the current team as well, right? He played with a lot of those guys. So that was really cool. To get Austin back, Austin's just done such a great job with his analyst career. Now getting, his debut on the Big Ten Network. He does a great job on the radio for Rutgers. So he was fantastic last year. He brought, CJ can attest to this, great energy. Yeah. We're super excited to have him back. Rick Gattaca, another name that really brings back some cool memories for Rutgers fans back in the day. He'll bring, some more context as to what it was like in the early days. And then Hollis Copeland is synonymous with, Rutgers, basketball history. I mean, he's number 5 in all-time scoring. I think CJ, what do we say? He was like
6th in rebounds too.
Rebounding. And you talk to the guy, and I spoke to him about the event, and he spoke to me probably like 20, 30 minutes just on this year's team. So that just, it just goes to show how much a guy like Hollis, who graduated, in the 70s, still cares about Rutgers and what like an impression it left on him. So to have those group of 4 people really talking on Rutgers and what the school means to him and speaking on the rivalry, I'm super excited about having them. I think they're great representatives.
Absolutely.
Definitely. So the event's tonight. It starts at 7 o'clock. If you're hearing this today when we release it on Friday, we were talking about this off camera, but are there still seats available if people still wanted to attend?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, we have about 5 to 7 seats remaining. So, there's still seats, there's still availability. And, if more people want to come, we can make it work and figure it out.
Perfect. So we're going to post a link if you want to buy tickets in the show notes. Obviously, if you listen to this after 7 p.m. tonight, you're not going to be able to come. Sorry. But that will also be posted on the board. So if you guys still want to attend, you can, but you got to really put some hustle on it. And hopefully you're listening on time. Let's talk about the matchup, though. That's what's kind of at the meat of all this. So Rutgers-Seton Hall. Rutgers has played really well this year, better than I think a lot of fans even anticipated. After you lose 2 Rutgers legends in Ron Harper Jr. and Geo Baker, you expect a little bit of regression, but I think Rutgers actually looks better this year than they did the last few years. Shaheen Holloway obviously just took over at Seton Hall. He kind of brought in a whole new roster. What have you guys seen out of Seton Hall this year? And speaking on that a little bit more, what have you seen out of Shaheen Holloway that you're really excited about?
Sure. I think something that's, just so exciting about Shaheen is the intensity he brings to every game, right? He's going to demand the most out of players, and he's going to get the best out of players. And, you saw that at St. Peter's a lot, him getting on guys. But, I think his ceiling is incredibly high just because of how passionate he is. This is his school. He's referenced it a million times in interviews that, how passionate he is about this job. So I think we're in really good hands. Obviously when you start, there's going to be some growing pains. It's a new roster, a lot of transfer guys, right? So it's really, it takes a little time to mesh. But I think we'll get there at a point.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's definitely some growing pains. I think guys like, Kadari Richmond, and I know we'll get into that, have shown really, glimpses, right? Now it's just about bringing that consistency. So the talent's there, just need it tied together. And yeah, we'll get into the matchup, but we'll see what happens, which team shows up on Sunday.
Yeah, and I know you guys mentioned growing pains, and I'm just looking through the schedule right now. Obviously, saw a big win against Memphis, close loss against Oklahoma, and then what the heck happened against Siena?
That was a tough one. I don't have a good answer for that. That was a tough one. I think going right.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like you guys are struggling to score a little bit too. I think you're like 207, 206 in scoring this year.
Yeah.
Is that true? Or
I think
we're
pretty high in turnovers as well. I think the one thing that's different about, previous Seton Hall teams is, right, you had a Kadeem Carrington, a Miles Powell, and Isaiah Whitehead. Mm-hmm. A Sandro, a guy that you could just say, hey, go get a bucket, right? You're one-on-one, you're better than the guy in front of you, go get a bucket. And, unfortunately, we don't have that this year, which isn't the worst thing in the world, but that just means you got to get guys in the right spots, right? Alamir Dawes is a good shooter. Kadari Richmond's great downhill, so now it's kind of figuring out everyone's role and where to get guys the ball, right? Because you don't have a Miles Powell where you could say, hey, go score. So it's kind of figuring out getting guys in the right spots, I think, right now.
And to piggyback off of that, I think when I look at this team, I'm not like – I think that they have some serious threats. Like, I think Tyrese Samuel is a talent. I think Kadari Richmond's a talent. I think Trey Davis is a talent. I think Alamir Dawes is a talent. I think talent is definitely there. Now it's just all about being able to have that steady presence and being able to bring pace to their play, right? Like, can they be like, are they able to handle the intensity that is the rack in environments like that? We'll find out. But, I don't think talent's the question. Now it's just all about tying that all together.
Who would you say is a couple players to watch? You guys throwing some names out there, but it looks like you play a lot of minutes for a lot of guys. And I don't know if that's just based on early numbers that the minutes distribution is kind of looking skewed right now, but I'm seeing at least, 7 or 8 guys who get about 20 minutes a game.
Yeah, I mean, and Dre Davis hasn't been healthy, so the rotation could really stretch to 9-10 between him and Jaquan Sanders. I think Shaheen just, he likes to pick up the ball full court, so he likes to keep guys fresh. He likes to really bring in defensive intensity, so it's kind of one of those situations when you're on the court, you're going 110%, and when you need a break, you need a break. We have other guys. And you saw that at St. Peter's a lot, some of the hockey subs, right, the 5 and 5, just to keep that defensive intensity at a peak. So I think that's kind of the mindset right now. And to be honest, I'm not sure if the rotation will tighten up as the season goes on, but so far there's really no signs of that.
Who would you say are like 2 or 3 players to really watch for Rutgers fans on the Seton Hall team?
I would say Tyrese Samuel. Tyrese and Cliff going at it's going to be a real interesting matchup, right? That's going to be a lot of fun to watch. Cliff's every game. Cliff improves so much. He's improved so drastically.
Oh my God, yeah.
Pat and I had the opportunity to watch him at Roselle Catholic for a while, and just seeing him come into his own is really special. Now he's stretching out his game a little bit, right? I mean,
and that the amount of talent that Roselle Catholic team had his senior year too is absolutely insane. Like probably 4 or 5 top 50 players in their respective classes on that team.
CJ Wilcher, Niles Lane, it was a really good team. Dave Boff always produces talent there. And, Cliff, every game is just getting better and better. He's getting more comfortable. And the thing that I always tell my Rutgers friends about is what's so impressive about him is when he's within 3 feet of the basket, he just extends his arm and dunks it. It doesn't really make sense.
It's like Go-Go Gadget arm, and it just reaches up and he's in. It's insane.
It's like the what's it called? The Michael Jordan, Space Jam.
Yes, yeah.
That's what it reminds me of. It's crazy.
And he's kind of like a viper where he just will turn and stick his arm out so fast that you're like, wait, I need to watch that in replay to see what just happened because I don't know how I didn't see that whole thing.
And then I think CJ did a good job mentioning. I think also another name is I'm intrigued by Casey Ndefo. I think he brings great energy to this team. I think he's brings a ton of grit on both ends. I think that's somebody that Seton Hall will rely on for his, veteran presence in that environment. So I think that's another name I would add to the guys that he listed.
And you guys didn't even really mention Jameer Harris, and I actually think he's one of the better shooters in the country if healthy. Is he healthy? Is that what one of the issues is? Because it seems like his numbers are down a bit.
I think it's just more so, obviously Jameer's a great shooter, and towards the end of the year, he was also creating his own shot and getting downhill and finishing at the rim, right? I think it's just, he's going to be fine, right? He's a great shooter. He'll figure it out. I mean, he is fine right now. It's just a matter of now just kind of meshing with the new guys, right? He played on a completely different roster last year, so kind of figuring out everyone else's play style and putting things together, I think, is, the main adjustment right now.
Yeah, and I don't mean to hype you guys up too much, but when Jaquan Harris, his brother's healthy, I watched him in high school multiple times. Yeah. He's different, and it's going to be a really good player for you guys.
A lot of people say, that's a Jared Roden prototype, right? Like a real strong kid, very athletic in transition.
You're already hyping him up. Look what's happening.
Sorry to put that prototypes.
We got prototypes being thrown around.
I want to talk a little bit of Kevin Willard, too, if you guys don't mind. So Kevin Willard, obviously, he had a long, pretty successful stretch at Seton Hall. I think it was just kind of the relationship ended on both sides, and it was time to move on for both sides. And it worked out for both teams because now he's, suddenly made Maryland, a top 25 team overnight, basically, by overhauling the roster and the culture there. Are Seton Hall fans now kind of realizing what they had more? And Kevin Willard is just so happy to have Shaheen that it doesn't really matter.
Man, I think it was the right time for everybody. I think everybody would agree with that. I think Seton Hall fans were just ready for something new. I think the fact that Shaheen, had that run, they were so excited to bring him in. And I think Kevin just knew too, I'm ready for a new adventure. I think everything that I really strive to do at Seton Hall, I'm sure he wanted more, but he really accomplished, brought it to a place where now it's a legitimate program. and wanted a new challenge. So I think everybody was just kind of understanding of everybody wanted something new. But, CJ can speak more on that.
He's doing tremendous in Maryland right now, right? The offense, at times I'd say the biggest deficiencies at his time with Seton Hall was sometimes, the stagnant offense. And you watch Maryland, the ball moves really well. So sky's the limit at Maryland. Obviously their NIL situation is great. They have excellent facilities, a Big Ten program. So I think it's trending in the right direction over there. Who's it? Dante Scott's a great player. Like, they got guys, and he brought over Jahari Long, who's really coming into his own off the bench right now. So, I always root for Kevin Willard. He's been great to us, and nothing but the best for him.
Yeah, so it's interesting how he went from one rival to another, the budding rivalry with Rutgers and Maryland. But
I'm sure he'll get a warm welcome at the rack when he comes back.
I don't think so.
Do Rutgers fans just hate Kevin Willard now? I guess they have no other option.
No love lost.
I think that was like the main hatred point on Seton Hall for years. Honestly, yeah.
The one thing I will say though is he definitely downplayed this game a little bit. I don't know if it was for locker room issues, but I think Shaheen is really embracing this game. So brings a next level excitement to the rivalry.
That's fair. I mean, hey, when Jersey's good at basketball, it's like the Mets and Yankees. When both teams are good, the league's good. When both teams are good here, New Jersey basketball is good. Or basketball in general is good.
I think it's just so important for recruiting, too. I mean, you look at 2023, 2024 New Jersey, it's loaded. So, I hope a ton of recruits come out to the game and, really see what New Jersey basketball is about, because that atmosphere is going to be rocking. I was at Fog Allen Fieldhouse the other day, and it's a bigger rack in the sense it's, very old school. It's loud. It's compact. You can't hear yourself think. It's an excellent college basketball venue. But so is the rack. I know Seton Hall fans won't be happy to hear that, but the rack's awesome. When I went to the game Miles Powell's senior year when Ron Harper started out with an alley-oop, I got booed out of the arena when I was walking out. Me and my dad were getting berated.
That was a fun game.
Some may say. I don't know if I agree with that. But, the rack is just an excellent environment. Yeah, I think it just really exemplifies New Jersey basketball.
I love the love that the rack is getting, because all of us who have been to games there know, like, when that place is on, it is, you can't hear anything. It's like being inside of a friggin' jet engine. But now that everybody in the nation talks about the rack, like, I'm sure you guys saw that clip that was going on around Twitter where, what's his name on Michigan was talking about how the rims have like a gypsy curse. Yeah. Hunter Dickinson's talking about how there's a gypsy curse, and Jordan Bohannon's like, I told you, they're playing at the rack. You can't win there. So everybody knows the rack is like this snake pit now. And it is, I imagine Pike is loving that. It's a great recruiting tactic. He's got a lot more attention in terms of high-level recruits. It's high-level recruits seemingly at every game now. So, yeah, I'd imagine there's going to be a ton of guys there, hopefully.
I can tell you, he hates it in terms of scheduling because no one wants to go there.
He did say, like, he was everybody's best friend his first few years of being a coach at Rutgers. Now he's not getting as many calls back.
What Steve Pike has done for that program, too, is absolutely insane. He took, statistically one of the worst Power 6 programs, and now they're a top 20. In my opinion, the ballots might not show now, but they're a top 25 team. You saw the Ohio State game, you saw the Indiana game. They're one of the best 25 teams in the country. I don't think there's any debate about it. So what he's done for that program is insane. Even Derek Simpson right now, and what's his name? Woolfolk. He looks
Antoine Woolfolk.
He had an offer to play tight end at Cincinnati, right? He just really develops talent, gets guys to buy in, and I think that is just something that's awesome. It's incredible what he's done.
Yeah, that one's a crazy backstory. He saw him at like an AAU event, and it was like the kid's like, I don't even know, 10th time playing basketball, like in an official capacity, and it's like, holy shit, that kid, who is that? Like, and it's just all out of nowhere. He offers him, he commits, and everyone on the boards are like, what the fuck? Oh, the 3-star tight end. What are we doing here? And then all of a sudden, this man's playing significant minutes year one. So,
Pike has gotten he's gotten like leaps and bounds better at identifying and developing talent too, because in his first few years, he was taking some guys that didn't end up making an impact for whatever reason. But it seems like, so it seems like at this point, anybody he takes, even like the most pessimistic Rutgers fan is like, I'll see what Pike can do with him before I really put too much judgment on him. And he is getting in with a lot of the top recruits in the area too, like Dylan Harper, who's a top 10 kid in his class. It sounds like Rutgers is leading there. He's getting kids from like George, this kid Ace Bailey, he's like paid 2 or 3 times to come up to Rutgers campus, top 10 kid out of the state of Georgia. Like this kid, like it is impressive the amount of talent he's getting on campus. It's about closing now though, because you got to be in the hunt to actually catch anything. But yeah, I couldn't agree more. Pike has probably been the most transformative force on campus in the last 10 years for Rutgers athletics.
Yeah.
So I want to talk more about this. I'm sorry,
No.
I mean to cut you off, CJ.
No, it's okay.
I want to talk more about this game real quick.
Mm-hmm.
So is this just going to be every year? Is that back of that trophy just going to say Seton Hall Rutgers, Seton Hall Rutgers, Seton Hall Rutgers? Whoever's home wins. Like, is that what it is now? Is that what it looks like down there, Pat? Is that what the trophy looks like?
Oh, we'll have to make a special guest appearance here.
Trophy.
Turn it around.
Oh,
Let's see it.
man.
Hopefully I don't drop it right now.
Oh.
We got right here the names written on the back.
That's cool.
I know
How does that
you're
get written in there? Is that like
I think it's
burned in?
engraved, right?
It's above
So
my
they
pay
carve
grade.
it in. They carve it in.
Oh,
Yep.
What
Yeah.
are they
So
doing like 20
the-
40? They're kind of screwed
Yeah.
at that point, right? Like,
No, I know. I was wondering that too. I'm like, if they keep going, like what happens? But I mean, yeah. No, Rutgers athletic department was telling us that they carve it after each win every year. So that's
pretty
how
cool.
it's
That's really
done,
cool.
behind the scenes. Yeah.
that's really cool. And for the people who are just listening, Pat has the trophy for the rivalry game, the one that's made out of the old boardwalk planks. He's got it in frame, and he's showing us the back of the trophy that has the winners and the year on the back, in case you didn't know that. No, that's
It's a lot
awesome. That they,
heavier than it looks. It's very heavy, honestly.
It has to be
How heavy
35
would you say it
pounds.
is?
It has to be 35
35?
pounds.
How heavy is this? Like,
You know, we were at the core club meeting and people want to take pictures and pick it up. Oh my God, this is so heavy. It's going to be 35 pounds.
I'm not gonna lie. There was a couple close calls where we're like, we need to rein this in a little bit, less pictures with it. But yeah, no, it's the real deal. It's really cool, and like I think that like they really nailed it. Like
Yeah.
I think it's just like it's a really cool piece where running this event, we knew this year like okay, we need to have this back. So now it's just been chilling in my apartment for the whole week. It's pretty crazy. it's pretty nuts. So yeah, no, it's pretty cool.
so for
Yeah.
like, you know, like one of those NIL donors, like how much would they have to donate to you to like scratch out the Seton Hall?
No price. This event would be over if that happened. Both departments would end us. So yeah, not happening.
I do want to touch on NIL a bit because this is something we ask basically every fan group that comes in or every like writer for different colleges. What's NIL like at Seton Hall? Do you guys have a collective? Has it helped retain players or helped in recruiting at all?
Don't have a collective yet. I know that they're still forming one. I think that they're in talks of like figuring out. There have been NIL events which CJ's attended, and they've done worked on certain events, but I think that they're still forming their own Knights of the Raritan, Knight Society, their own collectives, but they don't have anything fully together where, say, a Pat Hobbs, I don't know if Pat Hobbs did, but on the site, I know on the Rutgers site, Knight Society is listed there. Knights of the Raritan is listed there. There isn't anything of that sort on Seton Hall right now. Just there's an NIL marketplace on their website where you can purchase certain opportunities through Open Doors, but there isn't a collective together for Seton Hall yet.
Yeah, that was just added within the last month, I'd say, on the Rutgers site. There was big press release, and I think they were waiting for clarity at the state level as to, because I think the NJ state law was very progressive in terms of they got out right away to allow NIL, but I think the actual legislation wouldn't take action until 2024.
Right.
So they needed to amend it to actually allow students to take advantage of it now.
But huge development. The fact that Hobbs acknowledged it, and I know spoke to John Newman, which Rich and Mike, I'm sure you've spoken to from Knights of the Raritan, and they're the way that they're approaching this thing, and they're very forward thinking. Rutgers fans should be really, really happy about who they have in their corner because they're very smart guys and really understand the space. So really cool things that that Rutgers got going on the NIL side of things.
Yeah.
Yeah, they definitely have the right people in the leadership positions in Knights of the Raritan. I don't know as much about Knight Society. Obviously, that's run by Geo Baker. But Knights of the Raritan
tonight,
guys.
and you can find out.
That's true.
Got a plug.
Yeah, it's a little different. I think it's like a one-time payment, and then you're like automatically like a member for life, I guess, at that aspect. And then they do all kinds of events. I know they had like 80 people at the Rutgers Ohio State watch party last night, 80 plus, maybe 100, something like that. So he's doing a really good job with it.
Yep.
Well, I really appreciate you guys sticking around and answering all these questions, talking about the event. Is there anything else you had for them, Richie, before we let them go?
Yeah, we need a prediction.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I want to hear these blowout predictions for Rutgers over Seton Hall. It's already engraved in a trophy at this point.
CJ, you go first.
Oh boy, I want people to come to the banquet from the Rutgers side, so I'll keep it. I think it's going to be a rock fight. I think it's going to be an ugly game, offensively at least. I think it's going to be 62-51 Seton Hall.
Jesus, it's low.
62-51.
It's going to be a rock fight.
Limit.
It's going to be a rock fight.
You got to keep it
62-51 Seton Hall. Wow.
Seton Hall.
Double digits. Okay.
It's going to be a rock fight.
That's a prediction right there. I am going to go with. I'm not going to say a score. I'll just say Rutgers by. I'm going to say Rutgers by 8. I know that if Shaheen Holloway or any of the Seton Hall staff sees this, they are going to literally kill me. That's just how I feel. That's just what I've seen. I think I really like this Rutgers team, man. I thought yesterday was a heartbreaker. I think
that was.
Oh man,
they did so many things right.
You know what's funny? I just got a text from one of my Rutgers friends. His name's Pat McParland. He goes, "I still can't believe the Big Ten didn't come out with an apology statement as this is going on."
Yeah, we're gonna dive deep into that game in a separate segment on the pod. But yeah, that was an all-time Montreal screwjob type event last night. There was like so many things in that last sequence that were just bungled by the officials that we thought Bo Borowski leaving the Big Ten would improve the officiating, but apparently they're up to the same old shit they always have been.
I really, really like this team, though. I love watching Rutgers. I think that they're so talented. Me and CJ saw them at the Ryder game, and obviously that was a blowout. But, I really love the pieces of this team. So I got them by 8. Seton Hall fans, don't kill me. Seton Hall staff. But that's just how I see it this
after.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Pat. I do think that Rutgers is going to come into this game pissed off about how last night went. Obviously, the atmosphere is going to be electric. I really don't see them losing unless they go completely cold from the outside and they just can't make a free throw. I think this is going to be a game where Rutgers probably wins by, I don't know what the spread has been announced, but I think it'll be close to the spread, probably around 8-9 point win for Rutgers. But it'll be close most of the game. I see it as a game that kind of starts to separate in the second half.
Yeah.
It's fair.
What about you, Richie?
See, I want you guys to ask me for my prediction. That's how it works. No, I think one team's coming in playing off 2 games against 2 top 25 teams. They're ready to go. One team's coming playing off a D2 team that was a pretty shitty performance versus a D2 team. But I'm not going to get into details with that Lincoln game. But I think 8 points is pretty spot on. Pikel's MO is keep them under the speed limit. Keep them under that 65. I'm probably going to go like a 72-64 Rutgers win, which would lead to that 8-point spread because, Vegas knows everything, and it's pretty accurate, I think.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, you could explain yourself to Shaheen later. Don't worry about
it. I really hope he doesn't see this because he will definitely give me a text or a call. So, yeah.
Do you know if the coaches are going to be there tonight, or is that not allowed?
No, it's allowed. It's allowed. I don't know. I don't know if they'll be there. I know that they'll be obviously Rutgers. I doubt it. Right? I think that they're coming back from this. And they're prepping for the weekend. So I don't.
Pike's still on the phone with the Big Ten.
But, yeah. So no, I don't think so. But maybe there might be some surprises. Who knows? I know we do actually have
the hint right there.
Some really cool surprise.
Yep,
for Rutgers fans. We can't reveal it, but there could be a special somewhat virtual appearance, maybe by a recent Rutgers player. You can put that together.
Oh, interesting.
I have a pretty good guess there. I feel
Somebody who might be paying a different tax rate than all of us.
Maybe.
Okay.
Could be. I don't know. Maybe. We'll see. So
that's wild.
Could be a little.
Oh my god! All right, well, guys, thank you so much for joining us again. Last year sounded like an amazing event. This year sounds like it's going to be even better. So if you want to go, look at the link in the show notes, or you can hop on the board, and we'll have a link there as well. But from the guys from the front office, thank you so much for coming by and giving us your predictions and all the information about the event.
We'll touch base Sunday around 9 o'clock. See the predictions.
Yeah, that'll be a good time to plant a flag or to kind of cower in the corner.
Yeah, let me know when to tag Holloway on Twitter in this video.
Oh, no. Oh boy!
Back. I said us by 11.
All right, guys. Well, good luck tonight with the event. All right, so now we are back here with Craig Epstein and Chris Nalwasky joining the pod to kind of discuss last night's game. Thanks again to the front office guys for stopping by. Guys, I don't think we've had a more controversial ending in a Rutgers sporting event in a long time. We lost last night 67-66 on a buzzer beater, quote unquote, at Ohio State. I thought Rutgers played really well last night, but obviously the result is not something you want to see. I thought Pike was pretty telling in his post-game press conference that he basically said he was out of bounds. I was right in front of it, and he did have the best seat in the house for the entire thing because he was 2 feet away from the event happening. Twitter was lit ablaze last night with Rutgers rage. Guys, what did you see out of the game last night other than the ending that really was promising for you guys? We'll talk about the ending plenty, but let's just talk about what you saw that you liked out of Rutgers last night.
Yeah, so I mean, they actually played. You know, obviously they played well. I mean, it's tough to win on the road in the Big Ten, and Rutgers obviously has struggled to win on the road in the Big Ten, and they really fought back anytime Ohio State went up. I mean, Rutgers started out of the gate well. They started, they made some threes. Got out to I think it was like a 11-5 lead. But then Ohio State came back with like a 14-0 run to take its lead. But Rutgers didn't go away. They came right back. They punched back, and they made it a 2-point game at halftime. And then they started the second half, scoring, before Ohio State did. So they, took the lead. Second half went back and forth. They shot the ball better in the first half than did in the second half, but I thought they rebounded much better after halftime. So, Rutgers played well. They did enough to win. You could see the players at the end of the game how crushed they were. It was just a tough loss. I mean, actually, I was writing my article, and so my stream on my computer was behind. So I had the stats up, and the stats actually said he missed the 3-pointer. So I started, finishing up that, and all of a sudden they changed it to that he made the 3-pointer. I was like, oh crap! Now I gotta fix everything. And then eventually I saw it on my screen, and that was just a rough way to go. But this is a different Rutgers team than we've seen in the past. Rutgers got blown out by Ohio State in the past couple years on the road in Columbus, but. This game was a different story, and they were right there at the end. They were leading right at the end. The guy got to make a free throws at the end. So, they played well. They have a chance to kind of wash this one away pretty quickly against Seton Hall on Sunday. So I'm sure they'll look forward to that to kind of get back on the winning side of things. Hopefully for them.
Yeah, and just going off of that. I actually, outside of the last second shot, I thought Rutgers played very well in this game. Yeah. I thought this Ohio State's a good team. Hostile environment in Columbus is always tough. Like you said, they've always had a tough time there. But I was very impressed with the way Rutgers played yesterday. They kind of were teetering towards the end of that first half there, and I think they went on maybe a 9-0 run to cut it, like you said, to a 2-point game. So they took every punch Ohio State gave to them and delivered right back, which is something in the years past on the road they weren't very very good at. So it was good to see that. That's why I was talking about the other day. I was willing to give them a little bit of wiggle room just to see what they looked like at full strength against on the road. And I thought they looked very well. I thought Cliff didn't have a very good first half, but I thought he bounced back really well in the second half. And
Absolutely.
Especially against a guy like Zed Key, who's just unbelievable. Credit to him because he had an unbelievable game. But I thought Cliff had a great second half. He really, he should have had that game-winning block at the end. That was phenomenal. Great defense by him. And I also think this was a great bounce-back game for Cam Spencer. Because watching him, he might not have lit up the scoreboard like, people hope for. But I thought he did a great job, just bouncing back. And at the end, we kind of lost in the shuffle is that at the end, he had that pass to Caleb with Caleb kind of driving to the rim. And if Caleb could have held on to it, he probably could have put it up, put the layup in, and Rutgers probably would have iced the game and Rutgers would have won. So unfortunately, Caleb kind of let it slip away. But I thought that was a great play by Cam that, shows that maybe he does have a little bit more of a floor journal in him than he's shown the last few games. So I'm very, very happy to see that from Cliff, from Cam. And really everybody. I think this was obviously outside of that last second shot. I thought this was a really good game for Rutgers and one that they should have won.
Yeah. So Cam, I thought he just had his best passing game of the year last night. There was that one alley-oop that he had. I don't know if you guys remember that, where he's driving in. Mm-hmm. He had a contested layup he could have took, but he threw it behind his head to a trailing Cliff who just slammed it home. Mm-hmm. I do think that was what you're talking about there, the pass that Caleb couldn't hold on to. That is really the biggest critical mistake of the game, where Caleb, out of frustration, just fouled the guy 94 feet from the basket, gave them 2 shots, and you can't do that. Like, we're up 3. You got to be better in the moment than what happened there. But otherwise, I do agree that it was a really good game played by Rutgers, especially in the second half. I was looking at the score. There wasn't a lead bigger than 3 points for the final 15 minutes of that game. So every single possession was just, super important. Richie, what did you see out of the game last night that really impressed you?
Well, honestly, like I was going to say to these two guys, I wasn't able to watch like majority of the game because I was covering the Corsac thing. So, it's pretty difficult to say. I obviously watched the crazy ending and all that stuff, but the Corsac thing ended up extending extremely long because ESPN just drags everything and they suck, and I hate ESPN. But besides the point, I wanted to ask actually Craig and Chris about the 3-point shooting. I'm just looking at the numbers, 29%. Is it just a matter of they're just not getting good looks, or is it just running out?
We didn't make a single 3 in the second half last night.
Yeah. So what's the issue there?
I kind of mentioned it when I was talking earlier. They shot the ball really well in the first half. They made 3 threes in a row to get to build the early lead. Just second half, they just couldn't make a bucket. That's just kind of Rutgers' thing. Like, really only I'd say probably only like Cam Spencer is like a good, solid 3-point shooter. He's kind of but he played really well in the first half shooting the ball. He was 4 for 4. But yeah, after that, they got some good looks. Hyatt actually had a good game, especially he had 13 points. They've gotten open looks. They're just not a great shooting team, which we all know at this point.
And actually, now that you mentioned it, I just remember. I think it was the possession before the Caleb mistake. Was they I think it was Cam passed it off to Hyatt for the 3, which that could have iced the game too if he was to make it, but he missed it, and that was another big moment. And I did. Yep. That was definitely a big moment. Hyatt at this point, Hyatt should probably make shots like that to ice the game. Sure. But to be honest, I didn't really think too much about the 3s throughout the game. I think they did a real good job from the mid range, and like I said, Cliff was able to kind of dominate more in the second half. So I thought they did a good job, basically everywhere inside the 3-point arc. So I didn't really think too much about the 3s until really you mentioned it. But yeah, outside there were definitely some looks that probably should have gone down. I think Cam Spencer missed the 3 down the stretch that probably should make. But the Hyatt one's the biggest one that you have to make that to ice the game.
Yeah, they shot 12 threes in the first half. They're only 5 in the second half. So they obviously changed up what they wanted to do offensively, and and like you said, they got the ball to Cliff more, and he was able to do his damage. So
yeah, they went. Yeah, like you said, they went 5 for 12 in the first half, 42%, and then they went 0 for 5 in the second. So I think Pike and Richie just texted me about this, but that was what I was going to ask as well. Pike has repeatedly said they got to work on rebounding, Rutgers got dominated on the offensive glass this game. They allowed 13 offensive rebounds, and honestly, that's the real reason they lost this game. They allowed way too many second chance opportunities. Rutgers, they they find a way to 3 or 4 times a game in like a loose ball scenario. They'll like not, secure the ball well enough, and it'll lead to like a wide open 3 by the other team. What is it about Rutgers on the glass that are they just not boxing out well enough? Are they not like what is the reason they seem to be struggling so badly on the offensive glass?
Well, I think the first problem is they don't play Indiana every game. So if they play Indiana, then they'll be fine, in terms of rebounding, right? So
yeah,
I mean, I don't know. I think it's obviously. I mean, Peichel has said in the preseason that he thinks his team hasn't rebounded well the past couple seasons, like he thinks his team can. I think it's just a matter of getting in the right position. I mean, Ohio State's a very good. They're like a big team, so. They're a big, strong team, so they're going to get those rebounds. I mean, Sedeke was phenomenal last night. So, I think it varies game to game, but I mean, it's something they definitely need to still work on, though, for sure.
It just seems like Quiff gets out rebounded by these smaller guys every single time, whether it's positioning or just tracking a body. Like, I know he gets caught ball watching quite a bit, and maybe this was the case last night too, but it's just every time there's like an not undersized, I guess, the height wise, there's a guy that's smaller than him. Like, I think Zedke actually has more weight than him technically.
Yeah,
but,
he's a big dude.
Yeah, every time there's like a smaller guy, it just seems like Quiff is getting abused on the boards a little bit. And it's like, I don't know if that's the case as yesterday, but.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see what the difference between first half and second half, because the first half there was definitely a lot of offensive rebounds for Ohio State. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to say Rutgers was bad in the first half, but it definitely wasn't on par with like how well they can play and how how well they obviously turned it around in the second half. So I'd be curious to see the difference in the first half. So it shouldn't matter though. Like, you have to play 40 minutes of basketball. And I'd also be curious to kind of see the difference between rebounding on road versus at home, because I feel like they always just rebound better at home. They able to talk with the crowd behind them, and then they go on the road, and for some reason they kind of like they don't get embarrassed, but they kind of fall off a bit. But yeah, I think it's just something something they're going to have to work on going forward. It's still early in the season, and I have faith that Peichel and them are going to hammer it into Cliff's heads, hammer it into their heads that you have to. I mean, every rebound. I gotta say though, every rebound yesterday was a battle. I mean, you watch it; it's just like Rutgers was not like Ohio State was getting rebounds, but it was definitely coming at a price. So it's just one of those things where Rutgers will have to improve on it going forward, and I do have faith that they will get better.
Yeah, so it was 19-12 first half rebounding, and then 16-15 second half.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it was closer.
To kind of give you an idea of how dominant they were on the offensive glass, though, yesterday, like Zedke had 7 offensive rebounds alone. Rutgers as a team had 6 offensive rebounds. Like, Zedke truly was dominant yesterday at points. Not the whole game, but he was very, very good for them. He really impressed me.
You could say Zedke was the key.
Don't. Chris, don't steal one of my 3 thoughts. What are you doing, buddy?
Oh, really? Oh,
my God.
And the pod.
It's low-hanging fruit.
I do think Rutgers has shown a lot of mental toughness this season, though. We kind of talked about this off the pod. Like, Rutgers last year, some of those early games where, we get a big lead against a bad team and then allow them to kind of get back into games, and we lost a few of them. We won a few by, a few points. This season, Pike has made really good adjustments and kind of stepped on bad teams' throats and blown them out. I mean, against Miami, we were down 11 at one point and came back and took the lead. In this game, we were down 11 at some point, and we cut it down to like a 2-point lead. The second half was close the entire time. And I think the Miami thing, we were up 11. I'm sorry, but we've been up on the road in like every game. What do you think it is about this? Do you think it's just like the veterans have learned from last year's mistakes about, what we need to do to win games, and especially in tough environments?
One of you two go.
Want to do rock, paper, scissors? No, I'm just kidding. Okay, honestly, I think it's just like it could be some veteran leadership, and I think it's just I would say so. They have enough between Cliff, Caleb, and Paul that they do have enough veteran leadership that they do know what it takes to kind of go on the road and just kind of not care about the hostile environment and that type of thing. So I do think it is partly because of them, and I also think they're just more of a well-rounded, deeper team this year than in years past, which I think definitely helps. So I think now it's just now they've kind of feels like they've kind of learned how to take those 11-point leads on the road. Now it's all about learning how to keep them because as we've seen now the last few games, the teams just use the crowd to their advantage, and they'll just ride that momentum to make it, bring the game back to, even. So it's just now it's about just keeping those leads, not just getting them, like I said.
Yes, those are solid points there. I mean, right after they lost to Miami, they came back and crushed Indiana. So, they're going to obviously use this as fuel, as someone mentioned earlier. And then, they got a big game against Seton Hall on Sunday, who they definitely want to, beat handily again. So, they got a quick turnaround now between now and Sunday. So, I think the veterans, like Craig said, are just playing a big part. I mean, Caleb coming back was huge. Having Paul still here is big. Cliff has played the last couple of years. Even Cam Spencer is a guy. Even though he's new to the team. He's played elsewhere and he's been a leader on the team. So, in his previous spot. So, I think, but then they are a more well-rounded team, like also Craig mentioned. So, I'm just kind of stealing Craig's thoughts here, apparently. So, they're just mentally tough. I mean, it credit to the coaching staff too. Maybe things finally click. Things, something changed in the locker room or something like that. So, I think this is a better team, and you'll see, better performances on the road going forward, which is obviously something Rutgers hasn't really been able to do, in its history. So.
This is a question I want to revisit twice in the new year. Once I want to revisit it after the Purdue game because that's a total. Mm-hmm. No offense to Ohio State, but it's not the most potent environment I would say in the Big Ten. There's a lot more that are more potent, I guess. Purdue on the second. I want to revisit it after that game, and then I also want to revisit it in early or late January, early February because you're also playing at Michigan State and at Iowa, and I'd argue those two venues are probably tougher than Ohio State. So I want to see how they do in those games, how they respond in those type of environments, because it's just Mackey Arena is probably just right up there with the RAC. It's just as dangerous, if not, I'd argue maybe more, but it's very close.
Mackey, I saw a video recently with Hunter Dickinson and
Gypsy Curse
from Iowa. I'm blanking on his name, but they said the RAC is the most hostile environment in the Big Ten.
Yeah, we were just talking to Pat and CJ about that earlier.
Okay.
It's funny you mentioned that. But I think we've avoided the elephant in the room for long enough. Let's talk about these final 10 seconds of this game because there's a lot to kind of break down in this portion. So we're up 3, and Ohio State's inbounding the ball under the basket. They passed it in successfully. They were going to go for the baseball pass approach. That didn't work, so they ended up just taking it up the court. We fouled them right around midcourt with 5.5 seconds left in the game. Do you guys, first of all, up 3, fouling right around midcourt with 5 seconds left, do you guys agree with that decision by Pike?
So the commentators were talking about that. They were glad he fouled, but I think you just let it play out, right? You're up by 3, you let it play out. I mean, Rutgers isn't the best free throwing shooting team. So then if you do that, you get into a free throw battle. And obviously it bit them at the end. So, I think if you're good as a defensive team like Rutgers is, I think you just let it play out. And you got yourself to that point. I kind of hate the basketball games and they extend like that. So I think you don't foul there. Obviously, hindsight's 20/20, but just looking at it, I didn't even think about fouling. So that's obviously they did it, and it actually looked like they fouled kind of before even the ball was kind of thrown. It looked like an Ohio State guy fell down.
Yeah, right around the opposite 3-point line.
On the opposite end of the court. Yeah. So I don't know. I guess it obviously didn't work out at the end, but I'm definitely in the no foul crowd there.
I think it was right decision, but wrong execution. I do think fouling when you're up 3 is the way to go. I just think they did it a smidge too early. I just didn't get why you felt the need to foul him in the backcourt. Because the point is that I know you're scared of them shooting a 3, fouling, and miracle happened, like that type of thing. But I would just say fouling in the backcourt was you're just kind of giving them a few, even if it's tenths of a second. We saw that was the difference in the game, so I would have waited just a little bit more, waited to them to cross the midcourt and then foul them, just try and waste a little bit more time. So I think Pike kind of had his mind in the right place. It's just the execution now going forward. He'll have to, change a little bit.
I just can't I can't foul up 3. Like, I know everyone wants to do that, and that's like the blah, blah, blah. But after seeing Jonathan Mitchell do it against Villanova, the RU screw is pretty alive and well. Whether you count it as this way or that way, even if they fouled, it would have went in, and then there's the 4-point play. If they didn't foul, which they didn't, it still goes in, and it's like, all right, well, shit. Like, I don't know. It's a tough situation. I don't know what the exact ruling is because everyone's keeps arguing about this back and forth between the out of bounds and establishing yourself back in bounds. I know Ken Palm was arguing with Jeff Goodman about it. I think who's the other big name, man? Jay Bilas, whatever you call it. I'm bad. I'm so bad.
Yeah, Jay Bilas.
Yeah, Bilas. There we go.
Dude, it's kind of funny. Richard's like the worst with pronunciation.
You know what? I don't even try.
It's an easy one too. It's Jay Bilas.
Whatever. Dude. But no, I can't foul up 3. Like, everyone has different philosophies, so you can't argue that one. Now, that being said, Caleb just had to hit the free throw. That was it.
Yeah. I mean, Paul hits 2 clutch free throws in a road environment. Caleb hits 1 of 2. If he had 3 or 4 free throws throughout the whole game, that's fine. I don't blame Caleb for the loss last night.
No, I don't blame him, but the free throw shooting in general has just been trash again. It's down to 62% yesterday. You hit 1 or 2 more, and it's like, there you go, game over.
I think the free throw shooting has taken a bit of a dip the last few games, but I still think the main problem offensively is so many guys missing around the rim. Like that one transition opportunity that Derek Simpson had where he had like a contested layup, but it wasn't even close. I don't even know if he hit the rim on that layup that was fed ahead to him. There was a bunch of shots that right around the rim that we missed. Basically, the only person that's like consistently making anything within 3 feet is Cliff because he just uses his extendo arm to dunk everything.
Well, I was going to bring that up too. Fast break points. They only had 4. This team's fast between Spencer's pretty quick, McConnell's pretty quick, Simpson's pretty quick. Like, this team is fast and plays really well in transition, yet they're not scoring in transition.
You think so? Yep. Honestly, I think their transition
fast.
Game is one of their weaknesses. I got to be honest.
No, I'm saying that's what. Oh, I think with Cliff, with Cliff in transition, you should be able to just chuck it up at that point. Like the man's gonna.
What I'm just saying. I feel like I've noticed throughout the season so far, like they'll get steals, but they don't cash in on them. They're usually slowing it down, going back.
That's what I'm saying. I think the potential for transition ball in this team it's through the roof.
Well, that's where I think a guy like Derek Simpson will come in because I think he's just faster than just about everybody on the court. Like Cam Spencer isn't that fast. He might have quickness to him.
He's quick enough and he has the vision at least to throw it up the court and hit the outlet pass here or there.
Cam is a finisher.
How fast Mag is compared to other guys in the court. I feel
Mag's
like
quick. Mag's pretty quick. Mag's pretty quick too. Like Mag should be able to. He should be scoring more. He should be driving more and getting the fouls, drawing those fouls. Instead, he's doing the fouling. So it's it's just about learning.
I just feel like their transition offense could use some work.
100%. I agree.
Definitely.
But it could be better.
All right, let's move on a little bit ahead here. So we've covered whether or not we think we should foul. Let's talk about that end sequence, right? So Caleb hits the first of the 2 free throws. He misses the second. So the first issue we all have with this, I think we all can agree, is that the clock started really late. The guy inbounds it and passes it ahead to Thornton, and the clock starts on his first dribble. So that is probably about a half a second of clock that doesn't get used. Caleb then guards him beautifully along right around half court, almost leads him out of bounds. Did lead him out of bounds because replays show he stepped out of bounds. Yep. He passes it ahead. The guy doesn't reestablish himself from out of bounds, inbounds before he lands on his feet. So that's another violation there. And then he hits, and this has been a threat. This was like a theme all night. I think Ohio State hit a lot of really difficult shots against us. So this is kind of like a hat tip that he even made it. But then he hits this prayer of a 3 as time expires. Let's break down all these guys. So first of all, why is any of this reviewable by referees?
I don't think so.
I think the foot out of bounds. I mean, I think you can go back and look at that, right?
I think they said once the play happened, like there's no reviewing like anything. Like I think that's just it. That's the sequence. You have to call it like almost immediately. The only thing you can review is if the shot got off. But I'm looking now. I think it was like 0.6, 0.5. And that's what goes back to the rebound and the clicking of. I know it's just a switch and it's like a human function, like you have to click it fully, but like that should have clicked almost immediately. And then that 0.5 where the ball's maybe on the tips of his fingers still. Obviously, he got the shot off. That 0.5 is the difference maker, and that's where everyone's arguing. The rebound, the clock should have went right away. That would have been probably 0.5, if not more.
So my one of my brother-in-laws texted me this morning. He did I guess at his college he worked the basketball clock, I guess, for some of the games. He said, I know usually the clock is supposed to have a slight delay from the start. That's what they taught me when I did the clock at whatever college you went to. So I mean, I guess it does, there is a slight delay, and again it's like a human having to press the button to run the clock, but so I mean that obviously made the difference. And then Thornton, like you say, he caught the ball before he got his feet down. So I mean that should have been a violation right there. The game, the ball should went back to Rutgers, and obviously, or Holden, excuse me, Holden caught the ball before he came back in. Thornton definitely stepped out of bounds. His foot was on the white. Pike was right there. Pike was asked about it obviously after the game, and he basically said, I had the front row seat right there. I thought he was out of bounds. He hadn't at that point. He hadn't seen like a video or picture of it. But he never got an explanation either from the officials. They kind of just ran off the court. So Rutgers definitely got the RU screw there. So yeah, I mean this is a game. Rutgers won essentially, and you can see the players like Paul and Caleb. They were crushed after the game. So you really feel for them. But again, this goes back to the mental toughness and see how they respond. This weekend.
Yeah, and the thing I don't like is that
I think Chris, did you freeze
if
there?
the official like if you call the
I think Chris
the penalty, you can review that. If you call if they call it stepped out of bounds under a certain amount of time, they will review it. So why not just call it there? They still have like 2.5 seconds left. And I get there's a lot of home cooking and there's a lot of like let it play kind of bullshit that happens at the end of games. But
the Rutgers never gets any home cooking. So.
I think they do. I think
they do.
I think all Big Ten teams get home cooking from Big Ten officials because they're all like they all want to be like fucking WWE superstars. They like the ref show. They do like the flamboyant they do the flamboyant charge calls. Like the collection of Big Ten referees in general are like ref show guys, which I hate. But I feel like you have to make that call in a close game. Like there was a referee trailing about 10 feet behind the play, had a clear as day view on the play, and he let it go. I hate that kind of stuff. I hate when a poor decision officiating makes and breaks a game, which is what happened last night. This is a game that has an asterisk in my mind in terms of the win-loss column for Rutgers.
Yeah, I mean, I like last night after that, I'm trying to look at them as like separate plays, I guess, in their own kind of way, and trying to like grade the level of just awfulness. And so if you want to say, okay, the clock didn't start because, the rebound, it's like, that's human error, I guess. Okay, maybe I can let that slide just because I guess that's technically not on the officials because they're not the ones pressing the button. So they can't really, I don't know. It's just like one of those things, I guess maybe you can let slide. But then the foot on the line with Pike standing right, I mean, Pike had the best vantage point, but the referee probably had the second best vantage point because he was standing right there too. He was staring right at it, and somehow he just swallowed his whistle, didn't call it. I mean, maybe it's because the Thornton had white shoes on. Maybe you couldn't tell. I mean, it was a little close. So I guess, okay, that's bad. But, it's okay. But the Tanner Holden thing, standing out of bounds and then basically on his bench and then coming in at the last second to make the shot, it's like, come on. You got to be kidding me. Like, the rule is as clear as day that in the end – so I think it's different from the NBA. I think the NBA, you have to establish yourself back in bounds, which even I don't think he did. But in college basketball, the rule is that once you step out of bounds of your own volition, you are not allowed to be the first person to touch the ball. That's a clear violation. The play should have been waved off, or the shot should have been waved off, and Rutgers should have won. Like, that's basically officiating malpractice to not call that. You shouldn't have to go to the monitor to go to I know it's not reviewable, but like, it's not reviewable. I feel like it's not reviewable because it's such an easy thing to call. You got like 5 referees standing, or you got referees all over the court watching everything that goes on. The guy is, both feet are out of bounds. Like, how do you miss that? That's just so ridiculous to me. And that's the worst of them all. Like, if that, out of 1 to 10, that is a 10 of awfulness. Like, you cannot miss that. And honestly, that I hate to say, like, I hate putting it on refs. I hate giving on asterisks to games, but that's the reason Ohio State won. And the fact that the Big Ten is just not even like put out a statement or anything to talk about it is just ridiculous to me. Like, Rutgers, Rutgers got screwed here.
Ken Palm brings up a good point. Like, he quoted the Jeff Goodman post of the rule book and all that. It says technically in college you only need to establish 1 foot, and I can't zoom in too much, but it does look like 1 foot is at least up in the air and one's in bounds when he gets it. But I think the other kid stepped out beforehand. Yeah, so, I mean, that's the bigger issue. I think. I don't think that one that one's a tough call at the very end with the shot and all that, because it looks like he does have 1 foot in the air and 1 foot in bounds.
Well, from what I read, from what Tom Crean said, we saw in the game. Tom Crean talked about how if you go out to bounds on your own volition, you cannot be the first person to touch the ball. It's clear as day. That's what Tom Crean said. So I'm going to assume that's what the rule is for college basketball.
A player whose momentum causes the player to go out of bounds may be the first to touch the ball inbounds if that player establishes 1 foot.
Are you saying
touching the ball?
You're saying player. So are you saying that? Because I'm kind of hearing that if he's forced out of bounds by, like you said, forced out of bounds. I'm talking about going out of bounds on their own, which is the guy basically jogged out of bounds and then jogged.
He shuffled. He took like literally 8 steps out of bounds. He shuffled around the play.
It wasn't even like he was like maybe on the court, maybe out of bounds. Dude was at the scores table taking a bunch of steps, and if
that's the case, let me just stand out of bounds and then let's do that. Let's run a new age offense. Let's just all stand out of bounds, jump in, and shoot up shots. Nobody's gonna know what's coming.
It's tough because if you watch his head, he's turned around staring at the ball the entire time.
Yep.
Who's
so it's like the player.
He wasn't.
So he had no idea where he. Well, the argument would be is that he has no idea where he's at. He's just playing the game, running.
That's not my fault. The ref is supposed to be watching him run 6 feet out of bounds and then running back in when he shoots the game-winning shot. I mean, that's just, like I said, that is as clear a day call that you can make. And the fact that they just completely whiffed on it is just honestly ridiculous to me.
So my hope is that because Rutgers was screwed so hard in this game, that we'll have this built-up like good karma / like makeup call from the referees the entire season. Like, that's what I'm hoping for. I hope we need to get a couple really clutch makeup calls for how bad this was handled. And I'm sure that Rutgers contacted the Big Ten in like fire and brimstone fashion last night and today. So they're definitely going to be aware of this. Is there going to be a statement made? Probably not, because I don't believe that the Big Ten typically does that. So,
but then, like Pike said, the officials were running off the court basically as soon as the play happened, which is another just absolutely.
That's every basketball game, though. They all run off. They're just like, all right, we're not. What are you going to get a beer thrown at you? You're going to get fucking this, that. Fuck you. Fuck this. I'm getting out of there.
I can understand it if fans rush the court out of safety, but the fans didn't even rush the court, so it's like. Just take. I don't know. I thought. First of all, everything should be reviewable because basically everything is reviewable at the end of games anyway. Because we see last 30 seconds of a college basketball game take 20 minutes, so it's like these guys can't wait to go to the monitor. So why not just make everything reviewable? And just them running off the court like that just gave me shades of that St. John's game from the Big East tournament from years ago.
That's just what refs do. That's just what refs do. They're just getting out of there. They're like, I'm telling you right now, if they're a Rutgers fan and you're probably behind the bench, you're a little boozed up, you're probably getting a beer thrown at you. Like, I'll be honest. Just keep walking. Just get out. Done.
Rutgers does get a revenge opportunity at the rack on January 15th against these guys, and I imagine, they're probably not going to care about this game at all. It's going to be ho-hum, regular game. They're not going to want to exact a bloody revenge on the Buckeyes, but. At least if you get them again, because I think we're going to just beat the shit out of them next game because they're going to be so mad about how the first one played out.
Back to my other argument. If that ref or any of those 3 refs are ever at the rack, there's a beer being thrown. I'm telling you right now.
Honestly, if they wanted
I'm
to
not advocating it, but
everybody's saying to punish them, don't give them any more Rutgers games and things like that. No. If you want to truly punish these refs, make them ref the next game at Jersey Mike's Arena. That will be a punishment.
So those refs, I saw something posted about this. They refereed 4 games in 4 nights in 4 different cities, finishing with last night. So they were like all over. They literally went from like Columbus last night to New York City the night before to like Ames, Iowa the night before that. Like they were literally all over the country. So could fatigue be playing into that? Like the decision just get off the court, end the game. I don't know. It is kind of suspicious though. So. Is there anything else you guys wanted to hit on before we kind of pivot to football recruiting here? Obviously, we've talked a lot about this game. I think we're all pretty fired up about it. But is there anything we didn't hit on?
In terms of this game, no.
Yeah.
I mean,
No,
Yeah.
just congrats to Adam Korsak for winning the Ray Guy Award last night.
Yep.
All
Yeah, I
deserved.
just want to give him a shout out there. So kudos to him.
Sounds like he answered a lot of questions from the media surrounded to. Is that going to be released, Richie, or is that? Just gonna be quotes?
It's out. There's video. There's everything. It's hey, me, Eisman, and me. That's pretty much it. It's a shame because I feel like I get it. Like football. Hoops was on too, but like it's the best punter of all time. Like this is. I don't want to call him Ray Guy 2.0, but like he has all the records.
Mm-hmm.
Like there should have been a lot more people there, whether that be ESPN or ESPN hosted the event and they didn't even send anyone to the WebEx after. And I'm like, all right, well, whatever. But yeah, it was just me and Eisman basically going back and forth asking questions. And Adam's great. He answered all of them. He gave a shout out to the previous staff, this staff, everyone for helping him getting to where he is. Obviously, I asked him if he's going to pursue a pro career. I mean, that's pretty obvious, like what he's going to do. He's going to. Yeah, I mean, I really hope he gets a legitimate shot in the NFL. I know his style doesn't fit the league per se, but he punts it well enough that you never know. Maybe he'll get into a training camp and someone's gonna be like, "Holy shit, you know what? Screw it, we're doing Aussie style now." Like, let's see what happens.
And I don't think he can't be a traditional style punter. I think he just does it because he can do things the way he does in college. Obviously, guys are bigger, faster, stronger in the NFL, so he's not going to have nearly as much time to roll out and kind of directionally punt stuff. But I do think he could boom it if he wanted to. It's just why not do something that's unique and strategically advantaged in college when you can?
Yeah, the one crazy stat that I was looking at when I was writing the article, to post when it came out was Rutgers allowed negative return yards. Like they were the only ones in the country. It was negative 11. Like I was taken aback by that. Like that was just something crazy that I found. And
it wasn't a single game with positive yardage.
Yeah,
returns.
I thought overall Rutgers and Korsak was better at punting last season compared to this year. I thought he should have won last year for sure. I thought he was definitely snubbed last year just because the dude from San Diego State could punt far. Like, who cares you could punt far? Like, if you went in the end zone, who cares? The other team gets the ball on the 20, 25-yard line. Like, who cares? Korsak pinned other teams at the 1-yard line. To me, that's, like, obviously way more impressive than kicking the ball 80 yards. So, but, yeah, I mean, either way, he got what he deserved last night, and it was good to see for Adam. I was happy for him for sure.
I think I can say this now. I mean, I voted for him twice to win. Like, not much more I could do.
There you go.
Yeah, and in typical Big Ten ridiculous fashion, he's not even the freaking first team Big Ten punter. So how that works out, I have no idea. The Big Ten, in terms of voting for all conference, is a total joke. It's just,
I think we can say the Big Ten just sucks off everyone that's not a newcomer.
Yeah,
like the old traditional. Sorry.
It's basically like half. Whoever's ranked the highest, they just put those players on there.
Ohio State.
Yeah.
Oh, gee, you don't say.
In this case,
last night.
Oh, yeah. Jeez.
Oh, my God.
Anyway.
Let's get into football recruiting. Obviously, this weekend is shaping up to be a visit weekend for transfer portal guys Richie, give us a little preview about who's visiting this weekend, and we'll talk a little bit more about the transfer portal in general.
Yeah, so Eric Rogers, South Jersey guy, South Jersey native, Burlington Township. We actually had him pretty highly rated out of high school. We had him at 5.6, but I'm not really sure what transpired into him ending up in Northern Illinois, but he did. He's like he's a corner / safety. I know he's a safety out of high school, but I think he plays corner for Northern Illinois. He's that tall, lengthy type of DB that Shiano and crew obviously love. I think he's 6'2", 170, 175. I think Rutgers likes him as a safety though. And if you plug and play him next to Igbinosin, you might have the biggest safety duo in the Big Ten between those two. Like they're both huge. Obviously, one can go a little bit closer to the line at times and play like a linebacker type hybrid role that Izzy and you saw play quite a bit this year. But Rutgers has a pretty good shot at him. He's not best friends. He's very good friends with Chris Long, another South Jersey guy. He's friends with Everett Wormley, who a former Rutgers guy, obviously spoke very highly of Rutgers during his time here, still does. Yes, I mean, they have a really good shot there. I know right now he has a visit to Arkansas next weekend. Arkansas did offer, so that's going to be tough because the SEC has that type of allure that's almost unmatched. But I guess SEC, Big Ten, top two conferences, so it's going to be a matter if you want to stay home or if you want to go down to Arkansas. That's pretty much it. And those are two totally different cultures, I would say. But yeah, I think Rutgers has a good shot to lock that one up and lock that one up this weekend. And then you probably have your starting safeties for the season. He also has multiple years, which is nice too. I think he has 2 to 3.
Yep.
2020
Rogers
didn't count.
has 2 years.
Okay. There you go. 2020 didn't count, 2021, and then 2022. He's got 2 more years. Who was the other one? Oh, Joey Belgian. Kid I actually never heard of before, but he is a New Jersey native and ended up at tight end, ended up at Western Kentucky. Yeah, he's an interesting one. He's got some. I don't even know where he came from because he didn't have a profile before. Like, so I made one the other day.
he had a very interesting path to Western Kentucky. So he went to Delaware Valley High School, which I don't even know where that is. Apparently, it's in Holland, New Jersey. It's
West
not
Jersey.
a very It doesn't produce Hunterdon County. So they don't produce a ton of talent. He walked on at Western Kentucky, and he ended up earning a scholarship after 2020 or before 2021. Obviously, last year they had one of the most high-profile offenses in college football history, led by Bailey Zappi. He had 14 catches for 91 yards and 6 touchdowns last year. Just like a really goofy stat line. This year, he had a little bit more yardage, but fewer touchdowns. He had 12 catches for 149 yards and 3 touchdowns. He had a decent grade on PFF. He graded out this year. Actually, it's more than decent. So he had a pretty good grade this year. Graded out at 70.5, which is in like the top 15% of all tight ends, 66th out of 140 or 440. Sorry. So he's pretty good. He's undersized. He's 6'3", 250. He hasn't announced that he has any offers since entering the portal, but I'd imagine that if everything goes well, he's probably going to get one this weekend. And
if you're taking an official, you pretty much have an offer. Put it like that.
Yeah. Some guys don't announce that they have offers either. Some announce some offers they might not even have. Like Richie might go into that. So those are the guys visiting this weekend. Let's talk about in general what we're doing in the portal. So I think we've offered 8 or 9 guys right now. We've offered 1 receiver, 2 tight ends, an offensive lineman, 2 defensive linemen, a DB, and a special teamer. And I could say they probably have offered Jaden Bellamy, but he hasn't come out and announced it, so I'm not going to say they've offered him. Let's start at the top. They offered wide receiver out of Arizona, Dorian Singer, who led the Pac-12 as all freshman Pac-12 receivers last year in catches, receiving yards, and touchdowns. He's picked up dozens of Power 5 offers. He's from the West Coast. He's not coming here, so I don't even think it's worth diving into. CJ Dupree, he was a guy that Rutgers finished second with in his high school recruitment, who ended up at Maryland. He's in the portal now. Richie, talk about him and where Rutgers stands with him.
So Rutgers wants multiple tight ends, it sounds like. Belgian, more than likely, is probably going to be the one. And I want to go back to that real quick. You said Del Val. No one's ever heard of it. Logan Blake, Del Val alum. So it's just tight end you're producing tight ends over there like there's no tomorrow. I don't know what's going on in Del Val, but Western Jersey's weird too. I feel like it doesn't exist really, but that's just weird, yeah. Central Jersey does. West Jersey, I don't know about.
How about East?
Anyway, I mean, come on, East Coast. What do you call it? CJ Dupree. I know everyone's like, oh, like Rutgers has a good shot. Shiano went and saw him. We posted about that the other day. He tweeted out an offer, blah, blah, blah. But I see no shot at this one, to be honest. He's going to Alabama. Actually, he's probably he'll be on his way today to Alabama. Then he's going to Ole Miss Sunday, and that's going to be a 2-day visit out there. And then he's supposed to go to South Carolina the next weekend. As much as Rutgers finished pretty good in his high school recruitment, and they reached out to him almost immediately when he entered the portal, it doesn't matter when all these SEC schools are after you. And then when he also told me that he's not really considering Rutgers until he's not going to consider a visit to Rutgers until they figure out the OC and the tight ends coach situation. No one knows if Nuns is going to be OC, if he's either going to be on staff at this point. I don't see Joe Susan staying in that tight ends role. I think he's going to go back to that special assistant to the head coach type role, which is more like on campus recruiting anyway. So that's perfect for him. There's no OC. It's so hard to recruit offensive players, especially portal guys. When, hey, come play for my offense. What's it look like? I don't know yet. Like, It might be fast. It might be slow. It might be run heavy. It might be pass heavy. No one knows. Like, you can go any direction. So I don't see him coming here. Put it like that.
Yeah, I really thought this offensive coordinator thing was going to be done this week. I'm honestly stunned that they haven't hired an offensive coordinator yet, and like, I don't know, I'm just shocked. I mean, it has to be. You'd think it has to be next week, right? Or maybe even over the weekend.
Be careful, Craig. You're going to have some creatures crawl out of the boards and start shooting you down for that if you feel like Greg has made any bad decisions or if you don't trust the plan. Yeah, I agree. Shiano's had more than 2 months to kind of put the feelers out there for offensive coordinators. It's been almost 2 weeks since the season ended. There's no excuse. Like, he should have had his guy set up. And I get it. Phil Longo was probably the first guy he called, and maybe he was waiting to see what happened with him. But if you listen to the Rutgers rant, a lot of the guys that it seemed like were on hot boards, Rutgers hasn't reached out to. So Brian Fonseca did some great reporting on, he reached out to the Fordham guys. We hadn't really contacted them. He reached out to the James Madison guys. Sounds like Rutgers hasn't talked to them. So what it's going to end up being like a Harry Simiak type, I feel like, where nobody knows who he is. We're going to have to do a deep dive on his background. And, he probably coached with Shiano when he was a grad assistant in Ohio State in 2016, and Shiano was there. Like, that's kind of going to be the connection. It's going to be off the beaten path. Rutgers fans aren't going to be happy, but some fans are going to be like, well, maybe he comes from the tree of this guy's offense, so maybe he knows what he's doing. We're not going to get a big name back. It's not going to be Warren Rosario. It's not going to be a Phil Longo type. It's going to be a total unknown. And
then people are just throwing shit at the wall at this point. Like, you think Brennan Marion, the pass game coordinator from Texas, is going to go to Rutgers as OC? No. I'm no offense, but the pass game coordinator at Texas is a better job than Rutgers OC currently.
Yeah.
And then someone else said Corey Dennis, the quarterback's coach for Ohio State. Dude, the man doesn't even call like his own play. Number one, he doesn't call plays. Number two, he doesn't run his own room because Ryan Day's controlling all that shit. Between QBs, between OC, between play calling, that's all Ryan Day. So there's no hype behind Corey Dennis. Like, I just stop throwing shit at a wall.
In their defense, though, at this point, after 2 weeks of basically just radio silence, I think even in my brain, I'm just throwing shit at a wall. Like, at this point, I think I've run out of shit. Like, it's just like, I just can't believe it's taken this long.
It's a little. I mean, I know he's got to get it right, but it's a little wild. Like, there's only one portal window, really. The other one's like a weird one in fucking May. But you gotta, how you recruit a kid and be like, I don't know who our tight ends coach is, but you should come play tight end for me. Like, what the fuck?
I mean, the coaches wanted this tight transfer portal window of 45 days from the 5th to like the 21st or something like that, or the 5th to the 15th, somewhere around there. But it does, the teams that have all their ducks in a row have a huge advantage in that sense because, like, as a portal kid, you basically have like one more shot to get it right. So the place you're going to has to make sense from a playing time perspective, from an NFL pipeline perspective, from a winning perspective. Some of these guys have played on shitty teams their entire college career and just want to win. Some know they're not going to the NFL. The majority of them, though, are trying to get to the NFL. With a high school kid,
you can sell the vision. Like Johnny Shepard is a good example. Like he's okay with the general philosophy of what Greg is thinking for the offense. Doesn't need to necessarily be an OC in place because he's going to be here for 4 or 5 years. So he's got plenty of time to kind of assimilate, to grow, to kind of get bigger. He knows he's not going to play year one anyway. So it makes sense. But with a portal kid, you're hitting the ground running, man. You've been in a college weight room for 3-4 years. You know what it's like to be on a good or bad offense. You're transferring for a reason. So these guys need to have that kind of incubator set up for them.
Yeah.
So Rutgers made another tight end offer. Now that we're kind of – did you want to say something, Rich? Before
No. Keep going. Yeah, keep going.
Another tight end offer is Rivaldo Fairweather, and that's one of the funniest names I can remember in a while out of the portal, from FIU. Don't really know a ton about him. He's a Florida kid. He's pretty good. Probably not coming here.
Auburn.
Going to Auburn. Got it.
Probably. More than likely.
War Eagle.
We've talked about War
Damn Eagle. Come on, get it right.
Nick Gargiulo, we've talked about, the tackle from Yale. Do you know if he's planning to visit
profile
Rutgers?
picture ever. No, there's nothing from that yet. I know he's still fielding some offers. He's kind of taking this process a little bit slower than most. He wants to see what he can get in the portal. Rutgers is pursuing pretty heavily. Boston College is pursuing pretty heavily. He's still finishing up exams too, and they kind of take that pretty serious at Ivy Leagues like Yale and Columbia and all those other ones. So between a couple of the other UPenn guys that they were showing interest in, they're kind of all in like exam week, and that's kind of a priority when you're like about to graduate that big of a school. Like
That's fair. Moving along this list here, Braden Fisk from Western Michigan, Rutgers offered. He's got a ton of big offers too. Hearing that's probably a no-go.
Yeah, that one ain't happening either. Visited Notre Dame. Supposed to visit, I think, who else was it? I forget. He's somewhere this weekend. Where am I looking at? Oh, Florida State's making a serious push. USC, Oklahoma have been pretty active lately. He's planning to visit one of his offers this weekend. No one knows where because, everyone wants to be secretive. And it's like, I'm going to tweet out that I'm unofficial. Like, cool. Like, you could have just told us like a week ago, but sure. But
he seems pretty secretive too. His Twitter profile was private. And so like,
yeah, it's a little odd. But Florida State, I would assume, is the front runner based on what we've heard, whether that be the cash money or, other stuff. But he definitely is considering the idea of staying. I know he's an Indiana guy. So he's definitely considering the idea of staying in the Midwest. That's why a lot of Big Ten programs are pursuing. But I would say if it's not Notre Dame, it's probably Florida State. It's one of those two in the end. Yeah,
so big time offers for him. So probably not going here. The next on the list, we have Anthony Goodlow. He's a Tulsa defensive end. He's another guy who's got a ton of really high level offers. Mm-hmm. Doesn't sound like he's going to visit Rutgers. I don't know if you've heard much on him, but
Same thing. Not from around the area. I'm going to be honest. If you're not from around the area and you have multiple Power 5 offers, I don't really see them going to Rutgers. I know that sounds super negative to say, but it's almost kind of true. It's a tough sell right now between the lack of NIL, between the fact that they're going to stay out where they want to or go closer to home. If you're going to get he's from Oklahoma. He got Oklahoma State. What do you think he's going to consider? It's going to be Oklahoma State's right there. UCLA just offered yesterday or the day before or whatever. Arizona State's right down there too. So he's probably going to stay in that area. Oklahoma kid went to Tulsa. So, I mean, he's going to stay locally for the most part, regionally.
He just got a USC offer too yesterday as well.
Okay. Well, that one could be, where's that money? Where's my cash? I can throw it out there. And just
never the same names we always hear, USC, Florida State, Texas A&M.
Could be Rutgers. Got to get on
Not
board
usually Rutgers,
with
though, for some reason.
Knights of the Raritan. That's why. They need more help.
Yep.
Can't stress that enough.
The last Rutgers offer that's been reported, because Kyrie Jackson's the guy we talked about earlier. Richie, you're hearing that offer actually isn't legit.
No, that one, he tweeted out like 30 offers. I'm told a couple of those aren't legit, so take it for what it's worth. In terms of DBs, the top targets, like we mentioned before, it's Eric Rogers and Jaden Bellamy. I don't know if there's really another one that they're really searching for. Jaden Gould's in the portal. There's Charles Monkwa. They all have connections to Rutgers, but I don't see Rutgers pursuing them. They also have a ton of DBs. Like they have Melton, Loyal, Longerbeam. Carnell Davis played some significant snaps. Igbenosins is probably a starter next year. Who else am I missing? I'm missing someone else. I don't know, but there's a ton of DBs.
Yeah. I know that Charles Monkwa does want to be here, but I think Rutgers, you said, wants guys with more years, so that's probably not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
The other offer that's been reported, the final offer at the portal, is Jonathan Kim, who's the kicker out of North Carolina. He's primarily been a kickoff specialist for them. From what I was reading on the UNC boards, because he announced he was transferring mid-season to preserve his red shirt as a grad transfer. He wants an opportunity to kick field goals. So
yes,
I don't know if Rutgers has told him he has that opportunity or he's going to have the opportunity to win that in camp. Are you hearing anything on Jonathan Kim? Because obviously special teams, it's important, but it's not as sexy, I guess, of a transfer guy.
Yeah, I was talking to him yesterday. Actually, he's in the middle of an exams too. Like he did an exam yesterday, and we went back and forth, and then obviously had to go do that. So priorities again at the end of the day. But UNC, I guess they don't go to class. They do go to class apparently. So who knows? But
apparently they do these days. Back in the day, maybe not so much.
Yeah, he's got 2 years left too, so it's a little interesting. Rutgers definitely wants him as a kicker, not just a kickoff specialist, but as a kicker as well. It's going to be interesting. He told me he was visiting next week, but after talking to some of the UNC guys and the Michigan State guys over our new Michigan State site over at Rivals, yeah, shout out to them. But they're saying they're hearing that he might be visiting this weekend and then Michigan State like immediately after, and then the decision should come relatively soon. I don't know what he's leaning towards at the moment, but it sounds like it's down to those two. Those two have offered him scholarships, and Rutgers, like, you can never have enough specialists on scholarship. So 2 long snappers, 3 kickers, 2 punters, just whatever. But I don't agree with that. But I mean, it sounds like they're going to have him as a field goal kicker if he wants to come on board, which leans towards Jay Patel probably taking another year off.
So Jonathan Kim has been an excellent kickoff specialist for them. In 2021, he had 85 kickoffs, averaged 62 yards per kickoff, and led the ACC with 65 touchbacks. In 2020, he had 89 kickoffs and averaged almost 65 yards a kickoff and had 76 touchbacks, which led the nation. So this is a guy with a big leg and just wants an opportunity to kick field goals. He's only had 1 attempt in terms of field goals in his entire career at UNC, and he missed it, 3 for 3 on extra points. So, I mean, this is a kid that, give him a chance. Jude McAtamney, he's been hit or miss. It seems like he could hit anything over 45 yards, but can't hit anything within 35. So, I don't know. I guess they're not happy with him.
It's a weird situation because Jude came in originally when he first signed in, middle of the summer, I guess. He came in as a kickoff guy.
Yeah,
like he wasn't expected to be the field goal kicker. He came in as kickoff guy, and then all of a sudden he beat out who was it, Fava and someone else. Mm-hmm. There was another kicker. Oh, Valentino, the guy who just won the American Football Conference Championship, and actually had a pretty good season, which is a shame.
He had his best year of college.
It's a shame that he ended up leaving, but yeah. So I mean, it's going to be interesting to see if they do get Kim or how much they're going to push for Kim. I think he's going to end up visiting this weekend, from what it sounds like, but. That'd be the 3 transfer portal guys this weekend. Next weekend, it sounds like Bellamy's going to be on campus, so we'll see what happens there. But other than that, it's relatively quiet. Like I said, you can't recruit offensive players without an OC, so it's all quiet right now.
Yeah, and I'm sure there'll be visitors that haven't been reported yet because they try and get some transfer portal guys to walk on as well. So I imagine like there was a D2 running back who visited this past week. To Rutgers, who barely, I wouldn't say he barely played, but he's barely put up any stats at that school. So there's probably going to be guys like him who end up walking on, who visit. So just check the boards because there'll be names that come out on Sunday who will probably surprise everyone. But this has been a supersized podcast, and we want to thank everybody for coming on. Is there anything we didn't touch on before we sign off, guys?
All right, round robin. Chris, go.
Well, I talked about Corsac already, so shout out to Corsac. I don't have anything else other than that.
Craig.
Welcome back, Aaron Judge. Yes. 9 years, 360. Listen, it's a lot of money, but it ain't my money, so I don't care.
Yeah, I mean, it could be worse. Could pay Nimmo $21 million a year.
Nope. Or like
not my team.
Like or a guy like Verlander, $43 million a year at age 55.
Yeah.
He's still playing extremely well. So
I got to cap it. I'm capping this pod off with this. If you watched the ESPN thing yesterday with Adam Korsak, you saw 2 coaches, not 1, 2 special teams coaches. So they do exist. They do have them. I've been saying this for fucking months. They're people. They have special teams coaches. So stop saying they don't have special teams coaches. Just because he's not on a fucking 10-man roster or whatever it is of guys that can go and travel, which is pointless in my opinion to even have a special teams coach guy that can travel. Put another guy on staff, and that's why you have like 14 DB coaches instead. But Eddie Bruno and who was the other guy?
It's Keith Bruno.
Keith Bruno, Eddie Allen. Damn it, I knew I got it wrong. But if you go watch the video on our YouTube, it's there. Just go down below. It's probably going to be the video that pops up right after this, or it's going to be one of the Corsac videos. They're real people. Like they have special teams coaches. So stop that narrative. Cut it.
And just a reminder to everybody who's listened, if you want to attend the Seton Hall Rutgers Banquet, tickets are still available. The link will be in the description of this episode and also on the board. So if you want to attend, you can still purchase tickets. There's a very limited amount of tickets available, though. So if you want them, buy them right away. Stay tuned to the board for breaking news on recruiting updates. Stay tuned to your podcast feed, because who knows, if somebody commits, we'll try and record something right away. But thank you so much. This has been a great ride so far. We've got 100 episodes in the bank. We're planning on doing several hundred more. So for me and the rest of the guys, thanks again for listening. I mean, we'll see how it goes. This has been another edition of the Night Report podcast, signing off.